All right, Shalom. This is GMS Bay Area Camp. I'm Tazion,
I'm Garawan.
and we got the other brother on doing the research. And basically, first off, we want to give all praises to Yahweh Shem Shai and double honor to the elders. And also, we want to say honors to all the brothers out there doing the work and truth and sincerity. And basically, we're just going to get into some recent news, some past news, basically about what's been going on, especially with the news this week regarding the Vatican calling for basically a one world government and a one world central bank. So we want to first get into the history of how this thing has really developed, and also link it up with the scriptures, and also talk about how Esau, what he wants to do, as involved with the one world government, man, which is, the microchip. And basically, when you look at everything that's been happening with this financial system, going all the way back to when they first, got rid of the gold standard, and they got rid of they instituted the Federal Reserve. Esau likes to use a thing called the Hegelian dialectic, which is a problem, reaction, solution. So basically, I'm going to have the brother actually go into it, read a little history and the definition about the Hegelian dialectic, and then we're going to link it up to sort of the past history about what's going on. So I'm going to have the brother read the definition first.
Right now?
Come on.
This is the article titled, What is the Hegelian Dialectic? By Nikki Rapana and Nordica Frederick. It's dated October 2005. I'm going to just jump to the point. The Hegelian dialectic is the framework for guiding our thoughts and actions into conflicts that lead us to a predetermined solution. If we do not understand how the Hegelian dialectic shapes our perceptions of the world, then we do not know how we are helping to implement the vision.
Can you hold on right there? So basically, the Hegelian dialectic already leads to a predetermined solution. All right, and that's basically what's happening now. They've already predetermined the solution of this global economic crisis, which is going to be the mark of the beast. Keep going, brother.
When we remain locked into dialectical thinking, we cannot see out of the box. Hegel's dialectic is the tool which manipulates us into a frenzied circular pattern of thought and action. Every time we fight or defend against an ideology, we are playing a necessary role in Marx and Engels' grand design to advance humanity into a dictatorship of the proletariat at the water. The synthetic Hegelian solution to all these conflicts can't be introduced unless we all take a side that will advance the agenda. The Marxist global agenda, Salakia, is moving along at breakneck speed. The only way to completely stop the privacy invasions, expanding domestic police powers, land grab, insane wars against inanimate objects and transient verbs, covert actions, and outright assaults on individual liberty, it is to step outside the dialectic. This releases us from the limitations of controlled and guided thought.
You read all the highlighted part? Yeah, so basically, the Hegelian dialectic is basically a predetermined end to, what the elites use. They create a problem, then they wait for the reaction of the people, all right, and then they bring out the solution. And it's just a slick way, going back, we're going to bring out the scripture, going back to how this devil's been ever since the beginning. He does it in a slick way.
And it links up with what the Masons call Ordo ab Chaos. They get order out of all this chaos. You want Genesis what?
Yeah, Genesis chapter 3, about the serpent.
3 and 1?
Come on.
Genesis 3 and 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field.
All right, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. Now we know that's not talking about an actual serpent. That's talking about a man. And that man had the spirit of the devil in him, of the wicked, which is the Edomites today, so-called white people. And the scripture said, you about to get Revelation 20? Hold that further. That's coming out too. that spirit within him, all right, is the same spirit that's in the white man now. You know, he's more subtle than every other every person out here, every other group. He uses his Hegelian dialectic to get to a certain end to deceive the people. And keep going on that.
Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord power had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath the Most High said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, the Most High hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die.
Keep going.
And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For the Most High doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as powers, knowing good and evil.
So basically, as we see right here, the serpent, what did he do? He deceived Eve, man. And what is the serpent doing now? He's deceiving the masses of people through his Hegelian dialectic. And he's been doing this, you know, ever since the beginning of time. And right now we're coming to the culmination of his deceiving the whole world with the Vatican calling for the one world government, man, and the one world currency, basically, of a central bank. And this all started back in 1907 with the current system that we're in now with the Panic of 1907. So I'm gonna have the brother go ahead and read that part real quick.
This is from Wikipedia. Panic of 1907. The Panic of 1907, also known as the 1907 Bankers' Panic, was a financial crisis that occurred in the United States when the New York Stock Exchange fell almost 50% from its peak the previous year. Panic occurred as this was during a time of economic recession and there were numerous runs on banks and trust companies. The 1907 panic eventually spread throughout the nation when many state and local banks and businesses entered bankruptcy. Primary causes of the run include a retraction of market liquidity by a number of New York City banks and a loss of confidence among depositors, and exacerbated by unregulated side bets at bucket shops.
So basically, the Panic '07. What they don't tell you, the Wikipedia article is one of the lead bankers at that time, J.P. Morgan, put out basically the hint that the banks, you know, in New York were insolvent, meaning they weren't going to be able to pay on their debts, or they weren't going to be able to pay on the loans on the that they owed. So what happened? All the people, you know, throughout the city and throughout the country went to the banks to get their money out, which are called bank runs, and that forced the banks to collapse. Similar, what's happening right now, there was an instance, you know, in the video come up about what happened with the people down at Citibank, where people were getting arrested just because they wanted to take their money out the bank. So that's what happened back then, but it was on a much greater scale, and it's gonna happen again. It's gonna be worse now.
Okay. You were inside. You were inside with everybody else. I'm a customer. You were inside. I'm a customer. You were inside. I'm a customer. No. What are you doing? What the hell? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Right now. He's not doing anything. He's not doing anything wrong. Oh my God. What are you doing? This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. Shame! 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 You should be ashamed! Disgusting! You're absolutely disgusting! Fucked up!
I bring something out. All those panics were set up by the so-called elite, well, mainly the Rothschilds, to bring in the Federal Reserve Bank, and they kept doing those panics every 5 to 7 years, right? And then they supposedly they put in the Reserve Bank, right, so that they could push, so they could say get rid of these panics. But it was all bullshit. Why? Because they had the worst of all panics, which was an actual depression, man. The Great Depression, they called it, man.
You know, so that was the problem that they presented, was that the banks were insolvent. And the reaction of the people was the mass bank runs. And that caused a great panic, and it caused banks to collapse. And the solution they brought with that, you have a scripture?
Got a
Oh,
precept.
go ahead, bring it out.
It's Proverbs 11:1. It says, "A false balance is an abomination to the Most High, but a just weight is His delight."
Come on.
That's pretty much. I got another precept.
Go ahead.
Proverbs 16:11. "A just weight and balance are the Lord's. All the weights of the bag are His work."
Come on. And that's just further pushing that this whole system isn't a balanced or just system. It caused a major bank run, which was the reaction to the problem, and the solution was, they came up with the solution, which was the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. But before that, they had a secret meeting on Jekyll Island, in which the elite bankers went and figured out a way to institute this Federal Reserve, which would constitute one central bank, which distributed all the money throughout the country of the U.S. And the brother is going to read the little article on the Jekyll Island meeting.
This is from Wikipedia, Jekyll Island. Scrolling down, it's a paragraph called "The Planning of the Federal Reserve System." At the end of November 1910, Senator Nelson W. Aldrich and Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Treasury Department A. Piatt Andrew and 5 more of the country's leading financiers, who together represented about 1/4 of the world's wealth, arrived at Jekyll Island Club to discuss monetary policy and the banking system.
Can you hold on real quick? It said that they accounted for how much? 1/4 of the world's wealth?
Gun.
So that's letting you know that these were elite banking, they were so-called Jews, man. Elite bankers that controlled much of the world's wealth. So this has been a plan for these elites from the beginning to what's culminating right now. Keep going.
An event led to the creation of the current Federal Reserve. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, the 1910 Jekyll Island meeting resulted in draft legislation for the creation of a U.S. central bank. Parts of this draft, the Aldrich Plan, were incorporated into the 1913 Federal Reserve Act. On November 5th to 6th, 2010, Ben Bernanke stayed on Jekyll Island to commemorate the 100-year anniversary of this original meeting. Forbes magazine founder Bertie Charles Forbes wrote several years later, "Picture a party of the nation's greatest bankers stealing out of New York on a private railroad car under cover of darkness."
Under the cover of darkness. So they did this all in secret, man. Can you bring up Isaiah 29:15? Because this thing was all done in secret, and basically high sex of the Illuminati did this.
Isaiah 29:15. "Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord, and their works are in the dark."
Yeah, their works are in the dark. That was a dark work that they did, which was anti-scriptures, setting up the Federal Reserve Bank. Keep going.
It says, "And their works are in the dark, and they say, Who seeth us, and who knoweth us?"
Come on. Who seeth us and who knoweth us? You got a precept? Oh, you keep going.
No.
Keep going. Yeah.
Stealthily riding hundreds of miles south, embarking on a mysterious launch, sneaking onto an island deserted by all but a few servants, living there a full week under such rigid secrecy that the names of not one of them was once mentioned. At least the servants learned the identity